like that and do that signal communication with each other on stage. And the music will be right there with you to support your ideas in the flow. So that's what I like to do. It is enough of me talking. So I'm going to switch into screen share and show you what is going on. Here we go. And if you have any questions at any time, please type them into the chat. I know I talk kind of fast and we're going through a lot of stuff, but as soon as this comes up, I'll get into it. And I want to see your questions. I want to see your comments. Thanks for being here, everybody. It is 12:05. If you're watching the replay, welcome to Escape the 8-Bar Loop. I'm going to show you how I started with my original idea and then how I build it out into a song form. So let's say I've got a couple of different views here. First of all, what I want to talk about is how I organize my session. If you watched the intro videos, I had a whole thing about bus groups and why that's important. So let me just talk about that first. John Volt says that that's the vamping I was talking about. Yeah, so repetition is not always the enemy. Truth Seeker says V9 question mark. I don't know what that means. Version 9. Yes, this works in Live 9, Live 8, Live 7. It works with any version of Ableton. It's not really about, it's not like only for Live 10. There's a couple things with automation inside clips that you can't do in, Live 7. But yeah, this definitely is going to work for 9, so don't worry about that. Bus groups. Let's see. I need to play a whole track. So here's my original beat. And just to show you where the sounds are coming from, up here I have a group called Lows, which is the kick drum and the sub bass. You can see low is purple. Over here I have kick drum and sub bass line. And in my track in outs, all the channels are going to one of the bus groups. Nothing is going to master. I do it that way so I can organize the sounds and I know where to find every sound when I want it. What's in the percussion group? Obviously, that's the drums. It's green, and the drums are over here. This one is also part of it. Maybe I should make that green so you can tell. And the advantage of using bus groups is when I want to mix the drum kit, I easily have them all right here in a stereo group. I can drop an effects rack on there, do EQing and compression on the whole group at once, and I don't have to use 20 million compressors, even if I have, a bunch of drums in there. It's easier to make your final master channel mix if you get your instruments kind of grouped together where you can find them. So that's my beats group. And then instruments is all the synths and some more like upper bass lines and little fun sounds like that. So I use bus groups to get all my stuff in one place where I can find it, so it's easier to mix. And this is really handy. The bigger your session gets, the harder it's going to be to work with. Production sessions can easily go above 50 tracks, even above 100 tracks. With vocals, it gets crazy. But when you have bus groups, no matter how many channels there are in your session, you can come over here and every sound in the whole session is going to be inside one of these groups. I also made one for these yellow things that are risers and stuff like that, so that when I go to mix like drum breaks, risers, all the white noise kinds of things, I put them over here in the yellow channel just so they're in their own area and they're, I can like maybe EQ some of that super high frequency out of it and not have it be ear splitting in a situation where I don't want to EQ that out of the drums. Also, in the effects returns, I've got a bunch of reverbs and effects that we're going to play with during the session, which are really fun. Maybe I can just do a little bit with this. This is an effect rack I call the Hypnotizer. It's got a, you can hear that. That's one of my favorite things to play with because it lets you sample anything from in the whole session and turn it into a little glitch loop that continues over the music. What is soloed? Don't solo that. Okay, so if you're with me so far, give me a yes, give me a say cool, say hi. Truth Seeker, thank you. And let's go with the original idea. This has some problems. Let's see what they are. First problem is I made a kick drum that has kind of a slow feel as compared to this one. Right away, that has more energy, and the slow kick drum is more like for a chill out kind of track. So one of the things I needed to do to change this into a full song was make more energy and turn the kick drum into a bump, bump, bump instead of just a single one. Then there's a bass line over here. Another one like this. These are a few synths doing different layers. Check out this sound. This ping thing is not really on the beat. This is the way it came out of the synth, but it's not really warped right and it doesn't really feel right. So one of the things I did to work with my original idea was change it to this kind of a thing. And now you can hear it lock in on the beat. So what I'm getting at here is when you start with your original idea, the sound design, it's fun to go crazy, add a ton of layers. Hey, Lori Johnson, sorry you caught the flu. I hope your temperature came down. When you start with your original idea, go wild with the sound design, make a ton of different tracks, add as many layers as you want to first. And the idea here is, this is the good news, you're actually building the climax first. So when I start making an electronic track from the very beginning, I'm thinking, I want to throw everything possible in there, the whole kitchen sink, make a gazillion layers with no limit, and finally build up to that point where there's so much going on that it's like, all right, I cannot add anything else. And then I'm going to start breaking it down into little pieces and working with those. So the first thing is, overall, for repeating everything we did so far, the first thing is organize your session. Make sure all your channels are labeled with the name of the sound so that you know what it is that you're looking at so you don't get lost. It only takes 1 second to label these while you're creating music in your sound design phase. And put them into bus groups so you can find your sounds. It'll make your mix down much easier, and it makes you just so much faster to actually get a track done that you can export and mix. Also, if you are performing, these bus groups are a great way to send out a few outputs to your audio interface. So right here, I might have 4 stereo groups on my mixing board, and that's enough to do a great live session and a live mix. And if you do all your sessions like this, no matter what tracks you're performing, you can just have these 4 channels coming out to your mixing board, and every song is going to go through the same 4 channels. Believe me, that is so much easier than doing a 16-channel mix where every track has the kick drum on a different channel. You will lose your mind, and you cannot do a show that way. I mean, you can try, but it's going to be chaos. So for a quick review, organize everything in bus groups. Then the first loop you start with, your little 8-bar loop. Add all the layers, make all the tracks. The first challenge we have to do is create something longer than just an infinite loop. We've been listening to this loop since the beginning of the workshop, like almost 15 minutes, and it hasn't done anything yet. So the first thing I do is make these things called clip stacks that are like variations, where every sound I make a few edits to change it into something more interesting. The first example was this kick drum was only happening on the downbeat, and that was like too much of a chill out feel. So really simple. I just did a short little loop from here. I'm doing a command down arrow. Boom. Now we're at 123 BPM. We got a kick drum pulsing. That's house music, could be tech music, whatever flavor of music you're making, you can work with it if you have a kick drum that's kind of active. The bass line was doing this. And that is just a basic infinite loop. So I did a little thing. I thought, well, when I play this track, I don't want to just start the bass line from nowhere. I want to have it arrive like kind of in a secret way. So this clip is called volume ramp sub. I labeled the clip so I know what it's doing. And to make some flow in the session view, this is normally something I would do in the arrangement, but I opened this little box here for envelopes. And in the clip mixer, you can see the volume is going up and down. And I automated the track volume control. You can just press the B key and draw envelopes or whatever. And now I have this little 8-bar loop. There's the loop length, where it takes 8 measures for the sub bass line to ramp up and come into the music, which is really cool. That's a great way to get some dynamics and motion in your music where you don't just go from 0 to full level. So volume envelopes inside your clips are one of the most exciting things you can do to play with sounds. Let's see what other variations we have. Here was my starting drum beat. Not bad, definitely usable, but I don't want that to be the same thing all the time. So I made this one that's just without that little extra beat. Here's one you're gonna love. You are stacking ideas. Truth Seeker says you're stacking ideas. Why didn't I do that? Something so simple but holding me back. Okay, well, before you can build a track, you need ingredients to work with. What I'm doing here with these clip stacks is I'm making different pieces of the song, right? So this little short drum loop is going to be like the basic loop I use all the time. This one titled Slow Break, obviously, if I want to do that, you know, if I want to go there, that's something available. Short loop. This one is called Bounce Warp. That means I was working in the timeline to make some loops and variations. Okay, a little more energy than that one. How about these ones that are called long? What we have here is an 8-bar phrase where the loop goes through little variations, and at the end, you'll hear a little like break. Do I need to change my buffer size? Like, ba-doom, boom, bop, ba-doom. And then long version 4, I wanted a drum loop to use at the climax peak when everything's going crazy with the most little chops and stuff. So I did this one. Basically just adding little kick drums in here, but listen to bar 8. Listen to what happens right here at the end of the loop. That little thing, bop. That's like if you had this drum loop with an MC, you could play this 8-bar loop for a whole song, and every time you get here to the end, then it's like a little rhythmic signal that tells all the musicians or the MC that like, okay, we're starting over. Something else is happening. It's not just the same loop going on and on and on. Like, think about it. If you're playing this one and somebody's rhyming on it, how soon are they going to get bored? You're not going to have a person coming up with new ideas on a loop like this because they're just like, dude, what is that loop doing? But if you have a loop like this, it's actually a phrase. So that's the word I want you guys to use. Phrase, and women. I'm not talking to men only. Everybody out there. Make your beats into phrases that have little turnarounds. Like in the 8th measure, do a little edit and give it some kind of energy. And then you know when the beginning is coming again, because as you build your song with these, you get more energetic return from the loops. Let me read this question from Big Daddy. At what stage do you decide to make a new scene in your master? Great question. From a practical performance point of view, I guess when you want to trigger a certain groove section. That is exactly what I'm about to do. But I promised to tell you something about arrangement and composition and timeline. So I want to just show you a quick little trick in case you don't know this. Here is my starting loop. And all I did to make it into another version, how I made the 8-bar phrase. I just made little chops like that. Hi, Iris, how you doing? And then when I have all the chops laid out, I select the whole phrase, which should be 8 bars exactly. And I'm going to do consolidate, which is on Command J. I always do it by hand with Command, but consolidate is the operation. And the advantage of what we're doing right now is I can go into the arrangement, add in little drum breaks, and see exactly what bar each drum break is going to happen. And then when I go to consolidate, you select all those. I'm doing Command J right now. Command J, doop. And it makes a new little audio file, which is going to have this whole like arrangement inside one loop. Hey, Michael Callan is here. We were just talking about you in Zurich. And then the last thing you do is turn on the loop switch, click on the mouse and hit tab, doop, and drag it right back over into your ingredients list. That is why you can use both views to compose with and to arrange with and to make stuff. Here's where I did the quarter notes with the kick drum, the sub bass line, and some other little things like that. So this is not about only using session view. It's about using the best of both worlds. We got a couple questions coming through. Iris said, at the end of your track, do you go to the arrangement section still? Yes, that is exactly what we do. I'm going to show you how I play all my ingredients to make song sections like the start, the drop, the ping section, where the ping is the main sound, transitions in between them all, then the build up and the peak is red because that's where I want to get to. And then afterwards, there's a way to get out of it. While I'm playing all these scenes, I just hit the global record, this one that's called length test. That's where I was recording all the different scenes to find out how long they were. And it comes into the arrangement like this. You can see all the different sections, and you can actually see there's a section. There's a section right here. This looks like a gap because there's not much going on. This looks like a full section where there are more things happening all at the same time. So yeah, recording into the arrangement at the end, you hit the record button, you press play on a master scene, and the arrangement will record everything you're doing. Let me just scroll up and see if I missed a question, because I feel like I did. I thought I had to make complete scenes copied from the arrangement. John Vault, that is a super cool concept. Let me go here to where I have some empty space up top. One of my favorite operations, let's say I like this scene right here. That's at the end of the song, sounds good. Here's what I do. Loop, click, select the loop, and now you can right click and do consolidate time to new scene. That's gonna take everything in this whole little loop and make a new scene in the master. So listen to what's in here to make sure we know what we're gonna have. Okay, arpeggiator, synths, all this kind of stuff. We're gonna do consolidate time to new scene. And this is how you can change your timeline into a track that you perform live. So if you want to start an arrangement and compose everything in arrangement, that's fine. Now you can take a loop out of there and it labeled it number 1. Watch what's in this master scene. The same thing we were just listening to. It made an audio file with all those sounds. Sorry if that's too loud. I know it's like a high pitch, high frequency thing. So that was our consolidate to new scene. And you could do this for your whole entire song. You could go through and take like this section, make one whole scene that's that long, and then go to the next one, do this scene, go to the next one like this, and lay out your whole song structure. You could even do it in 3 scenes. Like here's the first section, then we're going to do a scene with the body, and then a scene with the mix out. And I actually know a guy who performs like that, where he's got all of his songs laid out in just 3 sections, where the mix in is like what you do when you're working, like, you know, bringing a new track in on top of the old track, like a DJ, you use the mix in part. Then the body of the track is by itself, and then the mix out. So there are some really fun ways to go between session and arrangement by doing the key commands, consolidate and consolidate time to new scene. I want to add this in here. Command plus J. Hello. Command plus J for consolidate clips. Other questions. How do you start at 110 BPM and go to 120 BPM in one track? That's fun too. Let me take, I'm going to rename this track 110 BPM. Watch what happens to the launch triangle when I press enter. It turns orange. And I'm going to label this one 128. Look up here at the global metronome. When I launched this clip, all I did was use the letters BPM in the master channel. I put a number and the letters BPM. Ableton automatically detects it and changes the global tempo when you launch that scene. So probably you should make a tempo ramp and do a few scenes where it takes a few BPM to get there. But when you're ready for the next one, you launch that scene, Ableton reads the tempo off there and bumps it back to 128. But I like my song at 123, so I'm going to keep it at 123. Good question. Now I want to keep going. So I know the questions are cool, but I can't spend forever on them because it's already 12:24. What I'm doing is basically taking all my original ideas from the starting thing and making different phrases to develop them to their ultimate fullest amount. So we had the pings. First thing I did was warp it to solve that problem. And then I wanted long pings with an empty space at the end. And I think I even did a phrase. Yeah. For some variation, I used the volume envelope again to cut out that second ping and make it like you can hear it more without getting sick of that song. And then everybody likes retriggering stuff, right? So I did a thing called ping taps, where I just triggered the clip a bunch of times and, you know, played around with it. This is what leads you to a buildup. And obviously that one's like a crack monkey pressing the button, tick 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 right before the drop, you know? So, you know, take your original sounds that you started with, turn them into longer phrases that have more of a rhythmic signal of where the beginning and the end is. And that will allow you to put them into layers, which develop. The pads are the pads. They have a long ambient sound that didn't need too much tweaking. The melody sound is really important. High frequency and melody is what will throw your track over the top to make a climax and the peak. If you remember how it felt when I did this consolidate scene, tell me what the word is for this feeling. Type something in. This, like, would you say this is like an opening sound or like a peak sound? Let me see a comment. Scroll down. Did I miss anything? Right. 110. Who knew? That opens up so many things. Big Daddy, absolutely. Yeah, a high melody sound at the peak is what is going to throw your track totally to the climax. Now, you need to have a climax in your music or else people don't want to listen to it a second time. So having a nice high-frequency melody sound is pretty important to give your track a place to go, a destination. Here was our starting sound. It's just like a little groove. So by itself, that melody is just kind of doing a little whatever. And you can listen to it for a while. It's fun, but it doesn't really take off. So here's what I did to make something that builds up. And listen to how this flows. It's continuing and changing to catch your ear and be like, oh, this is going up. Like the feeling, emotionally it's going up, melodically it's going up. And then we're gonna hit this one little thing to make you wait. Bow, bow, bow. That F is the, like the leading tone to get you here. And it resolves, it resolves to the note G. So when you're making a wait for it, we're right here on this F. And the scale is incomplete, you know, major scale, minor scale. Everybody knows where the top of the scale is. Even if they don't understand music theory, they know what sounds right. So when you make them wait on that F, well, the leading tone, the F5, it builds energy that you release at the G. That's the peak. That's the highest note of the whole song. And what goes with it to do the buildup? Let's play something. I like this track. I mean, this sound called ramp. So I'm going to do the build and the ramp. This one has another envelope in there. Wow, leading tones, throwing back to 8th grade bass lessons. Here comes that riser again. And you drop the kick drum and go back to the beginning. So that's basically everything I want to tell you about building a climax. Even in the old jazz records and like Broadway show tunes, when they're writing a melody, if you look at the score, the highest note of the melody will be not only the most important phrase in the song, like if you analyze the poetry, the most important line is at the climax, but the highest melody note will be where they reach that climax. So they don't start off all the way at the peak, because then there's nowhere to go. What you do is start off with something chill that gives you some space to build and work your way to get towards the peak. And notice that for my own brain, I do work with some colors. These peak clips I labeled peak, and I labeled my main peak section peak. So how do we get there? How do we make clips to combine into song sections? Well, it's time for the most cool key command that I ever learned. I'm pausing to check my chat messages because they're scrolling. Thank you all for coming. I'm glad you're all here. I just want to make sure I don't miss any of your questions. Yep, leading tones. Okay, so this key command is called capture and insert. And this is exactly how you get to improvise, play with sounds, do it live on the fly, and get a song form you can work with. So what we're going to do is start with a bass line and kick drum. Everybody likes those. Let's say some beats. Okay, right there I have 3 clips playing. Bassline, kick drum, beat. Sounds good, feels good. I can stop and start. Now, if I accidentally stop the whole session and then I want to get it back, I'm like, oh crap, which clips was I playing? You know, if you have all these clips in your session view, like with your APC or your push controller, it's really easy to forget which combination you were playing. So this is where capture and insert comes in. I've got these 3 playing. I'm going to go down to my demo scene. Watch what happens when I do capture and insert. I'll do it on the menu so you know. Command-Shift-I. Bam. It made a new scene with that kick drum, that bass line, and that drum beat. So now if I stop everything and get lost and scroll around and do some other sound design, when I come back, oh, here's my scene. Bam. Play it from the master channel and you're ready to go. So let's keep going. I got some other stuff I want to play with. Oh, let's see. I need a drum beat. All right, how about this? The important thing about capture and insert is it always drops the new scene directly below whatever is selected. Like you can see these are selected. So what you want to do is select the place where you're building, do capture and insert. I'll do it without the key command so you can see. And you see that it puts the new scene right below here. Let's add another little beat. Do this one called One Hit. Hot, 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 and sexy. I love this sound. It almost sounds like insects. So now I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to do capture and insert when we're up here. Okay, here's my key command, capture and insert. Oh no. I was building my song sections down here. I was layering it up. Everything was cool. I screwed up and added my scene up here by that clip. That is the wrong way to do it because that's how you get a disorganized session. What you want to do is a new sound, new scene, select the bottom one, right? So I'm down here. Then I capture and insert. And you can see my clip stacks are starting to stack up. First, there's a simple beat. Then there's a beat with the new drums and a beat with that new kick drum thing. Panning a bass line, question mark. Don't pan the sub bass line because you need that in mono, but you do pan some of your upper bass lines like this. Because if they don't have that low sub frequency, you can put them left and right without causing problems in the sub. Oh, John says you can't see your menu bar. All right, maybe because I'm in full screen. All right, well, okay, sorry, you can't see my menu bar. I did write the key command right down here, Command-Shift-I for capture and insert. So this is how I build up song sections. I'm going to keep going and add some things to this on the fly so you can see how you can do it without stopping. Something has to happen. I need a riser. That's growing up slowly. So I want that one to be there. And when it drops, I want this thing in here. Ah, I just did it. Don't drop your scene in that place. Go down to your building block, then drop your new scene. I think it's time for some melody after that riser goes through. And you could even do this if you were actually performing and dropping clips. You could conceivably add new little things. I'm going to go with this other envelope. And let's see what this one sounds like. Oh, no. So I've got another envelope that's going to introduce a new sound, which is going to be this one. Let's play all these. Make sure you select your bottom scene and drop a new one. Do we have all the parts I want? And select and insert. So there you go. Let me check some questions. John Jonathan Juro says, this is dope. Playing with Command-Shift-I will allow me to put off buying a push for months. Well, yeah, I mean, you can, or that's up to you. John Vol says, this makes so much sense. I was trying to build entire scenes, not thinking of skipping way down and building the final song with all the little parts from above. Yes, thank you. That is exactly what it's all about. You just heard me play around in the flow with the track playing, and I was adding new clips, dropping them in to new scenes, and putting them into these new scenes in the, like, what I call a building block. So then when you're ready to do your whole song into the arrangement, maybe we can actually do that. Let's go over here, drop a marker. I'm a big fan of being organized, so I'm going to say demo arrange, starting at 425. Metronome is at 425. I hit the record and start. Beginning idea. Second idea. I'm going to rush through this, I love that sound. Boom. Let that go 4 times. And we are laying it down in the arrangement. Here comes a little riser. Let's wait for this to go through, and then I'll drop the next beat just so you can see what we're doing. And you go to the next scene. You can play each one of these scenes in the master for basically just 8 bars, and you'll end up with a cool track. What comes in the next sound? It looks like the melody is going to come in. And now what I'm doing is using a pad controller to scroll through my scenes, trigger the launch, and have hands off the mouse, because you don't want your mouse pad holding you back. I'll do one more, and then we'll flip over to see what happened. So all I was doing was going through these master channel scenes, launching them in order, and letting them run for like 4 bars or 8 bars or however long it takes for them to feel like something's happening while we were recording. And here's our song. Tell me if you think that's not amazing, right? That gives you the best of session view and arrangement view all together at the same time. And you can just add clips on the fly, play whatever you feel like in session, and emotionally connect like by how you want the song to move, like from your imagination directly into the music. And then you record it into the arrangement, and we can go through and do like, volume automation. You could do your effects and stuff like that. And you even have these risers triggering the next section where something drops. Is everybody with me? Type in something if you follow along. We just covered some of the most important stuff about how to build live and capture it so you don't lose it. So I really wanted to get that into your brain because that's really important. And then we're going to talk about transitions as soon as I drink some coffee and you say that you understand. Oh, John Vault, this is the slap on the back of the head I said I needed. Pow. Ow. All right. If anybody has a question, please type in your questions. I'm happy to talk about it. I'm blown away. Wow. Thank you for, I feel honored that you're watching and being blown away. I'm just having a really good time with Ableton and making tracks like that. Okay. So you're all with me. Now, one of the things is that you need empty space in your music. Everybody knows about the yin and yang. It's got to flow, but it's got to pull back and rest. So I developed this way to make transitions that are little gaps where nothing is happening in between the song sections. So let me play through a few of these song sections. What I want you to listen for is what happens in the green scene, because that's where it gets interesting. So the song is starting off. I want to try and rush through it here. I'm going to shave the side of my head like Skrillex, says John Vault. No, shave the back of your head. You could like slap yourself. Okay, so there was a build-up. We're playing 8 bars per scene. Every one of these master scenes is basically 8 bars. But I'm going to jump to the transition before the end of 8 bars to make a little extra thing. Did you notice that? I'll do that again and listen to what happens in the transition. The beat drops out, okay? There are no drums happening anywhere. And we have some little glitchy friends introducing this. Lori Johnson says, excellent. Thank you, Lori. I'm so glad you are not in a feverish delusion. Yes, exactly. This makes arranging a piece of cake because you get to play and have fun doing music in session transition, and then a drop. And the melody came through. I'm going to do this transition again. Let's see what happened. I'll wait for the right time. And I'll skip to it before the end of 8 bars right now. I use the transition to cut out the kick drum and the other beats. In the transition sections, you can see that there is like no kick drum over here, no drum beats over here. It's just like if you're doing a live jam on a mixing board, right before a drop, you can mute the kick drum and mute the beats. And that little empty space gives people like, oh, what's happening? I better pay attention. And then bam, you drop the beat and you kick the kick drum back in, and they feel like it's even louder. Even though it's not louder, it feels louder because you took it away before you give it back. Let's do one more because that was fun. Big Daddy says, so much freedom. Yes. No more V2, V3, V4. Are you talking about verses? Verse 2, verse 3, V4? And remember, go to the transition early. All right, so you're all understanding that. I think that is super cool. So let's talk about when you want to extend a clip across a section. We have this reverse cymbal, okay? It's going to build up for 8 measures. You can see it's coming along here. Now, I want that reverse cymbal to happen all the way through the transition and continue to the drop. Here it comes. Oh my God, what's going to happen? So there we go. Now, the problem is if you put that same clip in the transition, it's going to start over. And you don't want that because that'll cut off the end of the thing. Yeah, Big Daddy, I'll get to you in a second as soon as I tell you legato switches. This is a super cool feature about launching where you activate this little legato switch and it makes the clip take over from the previous position. So watch what happens here. We're going to make a long reverse crash that goes across 2 scenes. So the crash is going to start here and finish in the transition so we can go to the drop. I'll do it with just the clip by itself. 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4. Okay. 5. I'm going to go to the transition at 6, 7, 2, 7. Oh, it kept going. Did you see that? I launched a new clip, but it did not interrupt the reverse crash. I'm going to go from this song section through the transition, especially listen to the crash. I'll make it nice and loud. This is how you continue a long filter sweep or a riser or a reverse cymbal or anything. It's how you continue across song sections. So if you're in the arrangement and you have a filter sweep that goes, I don't know, goes like that across a bridge between sections, you can still do that in session view without having a cut off sound. Let's listen. Okay, I'm starting to hear it. Bam, swoop, and then it drops right back down. All you do to do that is in your transition scene, you select all the little clips and turn on the legato switch in the launch box. Not the one in the notes box. That legato switch will do something different. You don't want that one. You want to go in the launching box in the launch modes and trigger legato, which controls how it takes over. Maybe one more little demo with this one. You can see where the cursor is going on these songs. And I just launched that second clip and it started over. That's what you do to make a really cool transition. And let me answer this question. So could you give me an example with your buses when recording a new scene? Does it affect transition effects from the previous clip? Wait, what is your question? Give you an example of buses when you're recording a new scene? I'm not sure what you mean because the buses are like the routing of how the channels are sent into the buses. So I'm not sure what you mean about how that affects a scene. John Vault, thank you. Awesome technique. Let me show you how transitions can also be like a breakdown before the buildup. I'm going to go from a breakdown and get to the peak to show you what the climax comes from. So there's our drop. We're doing that ping thing. Let's say we go to the next section right now. The pings are building up, right? Doing that delay technique. I hear a riser. Let's go to the transition. What happens? 3, 4. Aha! We're back to the beginning. that ambient pad sound is happening in. So that was how I made a break section that went on for like, it could go for 8 bars or however long you want to. It doesn't have to be only a transition. It can be a nice long extended break. And then we're in this other section. Oh, never mind. I answered it already. Okay, thanks. So where am I? I'm going to go, I'm trying to skip ahead so we don't spend too much time here, but I want to just get to the peak buildup to show you how the song flows through it. I built this whole thing by playing clips, adding new ones, and doing capture and insert to get to the next scene. And let me get a little screen space back. Now I hear a riser, I better launch the next scene. That keeps me on time too. Oh, global quantize. I do like this Glitch World track. Now I'm playing with some delay effects. Make it a little spacey before we go into this build-up section. John, legato basically makes it play the entire clip, even if you triggered a new one while it's playing. Yes, it allows you to hear the entire clip length across multiple clips. So you hear the whole phrase by using several clips and several scenes. And the master track is a trigger for the set arrangement. Did I get that right? The master channel is a trigger for everything in the whole scene horizontally. That allows you to play all the stuff in one line. And here we are up to the peak melody. I know I'm talking and triggering at the same time. I hope it's not too distracting. And we've got the peak level of melody here. The risers are going off. In Glitch World, we have some other squeaky, squeaky little stuff that's pink, so I know that's important. And we had this crash symbol coming in. I'm going to trigger this again on the next scene, the after peak. And look at my arpeggiated ping bells are fading down. I knew I wanted them to fade out. I didn't want it to just stop. So I automated that clip to make them fade down. You need to be quiet. That squeak is a little too much. So here's how I went from song sections through a build-up using legato clips, arrived at a peak. And then from there, here's where it gets to be kind of fun. For the rest of the song, you can make the ending of your song in the reverse process. You can make a mix out by muting clips and making new scenes. So I'm going to show you that down here. I'll do demo ending. We're going to build new scenes and drop them in here and make it purple. So let's say we're at the after peak and I want to start chilling out the track a little bit. So I mute that one, go down to the demo ending, capture and insert. I got a new scene. Whatever is playing right now goes into a scene by itself. I want to have a riser action over here. So these risers can tell you when to take something out as well as telling you when to put something in. And maybe I'll stop, select down here. And I'll just stop those two little clips, drop in a new scene like that. And that one, and that one. And if you know what you want ahead of time, you could actually build your song in real time while it's all happening. I want my pads to come in next. For the ending. So if somebody was listening to you right now, they would just hear a song happening. Let's maybe stop those. Stop that one. And then finally, I'll stop the sub bass and make one more scene. And now the risers are going. And there you have it. I just went through from the after peak section, which sounded like this. And I built an ending where every scene had one less channel. Let's just listen. And it ends. And just to really illustrate the legato switch, you can hear that every time I launched a scene, that loop started over. If I turn on legato for all these clips that I just selected, we will be able to hear that pad sweep happen slowly, even when I'm going through the song sections quickly. I'll do it on 2 beats. The pad just keeps on going, even though I'm changing all these different scenes. That's a really good example of why you want to use the legato switch, because we got a nice long ambient pad. It doesn't even work if you start it over every time. It has to go developing across several scenes. So this legato switch right here, plus capture and insert, is how I'm doing this. John Vault, you're really putting comments, and that's awesome. I'm going to read this one. I just want to say I've watched hundreds of Ableton videos on YouTube, and not a single one showed how to use Session View like this. Oh my God. Even the basic ones. This is what I've been looking for. Man, I feel you, because, you know, Ableton for me is like the best video game in the world, but you got to grab it and play with it hands-on. You know, a couple key commands, launching clips and throwing stuff together like that, you can actually make tracks in real time and get them in the arrangement and everything. So thank you so much for that comment. I really appreciate it. You know what? I'm going to go back into camera land out of full screen land for a little minute. Maybe I'll put the something playing. No, I want to open this one. So while that's happening, you can't see this because I'm off. Workshop backup. Yeah, save that one. And I want to make sure I stop the screen share without stopping the broadcast. There we go. Okay, I think I'm back on. Hi. Let me check my monitor screen. Don't want to make any sudden moves and stop stuff. As soon as I see myself pop up on the camera, then I'm going to keep talking a little bit. Yeah, thanks for coming with me. I'm so excited to be able to show you this stuff because it gives you Ableton at your fingertips in Session View to play with it and have fun with it. There I am. And you don't lose anything of what you want to do. Like, you know, when I'm just playing, like making a track, I want to add a new clip and hear it drop and feel it and be like, yes, this is what a record should sound like. This is going to give me like that emotional satisfaction of hearing a new beat drop, hearing a new layer. The problems I had doing live electronic shows with an MPC sequencer were things like, how do I cut out the tracks and make a drop happen? How do I get back to where I was before? You know, I had one hand on the mixing board, one hand on the MPC. There was a little tiny screen this big. It was impossible to just do everything in the right way. So this was Ableton let me organize all this stuff and be able to build tracks, put them together, make a climax that you can find every single time. You know it's there in that pink, that master channel labeled pink. And so all I have to do is just launch the right clips to get to that peak scene and then add them in with capture and insert. And you get a song form, bam, right there. Afterwards, you can put it into the arrangement and do the final mix down. So Truth Seeker says, John, you're right. Thank you so much, Steve. You are so welcome. We've been in it almost an hour. So I want to go and extend a little offer for anybody who wants to really learn about this in a hands-on way. At the beginning, someone asked if I have a follow-along session that you can do. And the answer is yes, but it might not be exactly what you're expecting. I invented something I call session lessons, where you get an Ableton Live pack that you download, and it's got instructions and everything built in, where I put like little automation clips and scenes and activities and projects to practice with. So I'm going to show you that right now and then answer Big Daddy's question. Let's go back to Ableton. I have a session lesson. Oh man, you can't screen share in full screen. That's what I thought. Minimize that. I'm going to answer your question Come on. Application window. Share Ableton. And while I wait for that to pop up, Big Daddy says, if you want to trigger a clip at a later stage during the scene, is it necessary to insert a silence in the clip to be triggered? Yes. I know what you're saying. If you want the clip to be like if you want something to happen only at the end of an 8-bar loop and you have a clip that's 8 bars long, that is what you do. And if we can see my screen, I might be able to show you that again. Okay, Ableton is up. This is a session lesson that you're looking at. It's a hands-on lesson. And excuse me, let's see. What does this one sound like? Okay, there we go. I'm not sure if I have a clip that's automated to give you exactly that view. But yeah, what you have to do is basically make, like, you could go in the arrangement and make an 8-bar phrase that only has a clip at the end of it, and then do consolidate, and it'll give you silence at the beginning. But what I want to show you here, this is one of the modules from Escape the 8-bar Loop as a hands-on session lesson. Now, I'm talking to you right now with me and the camera, but what I did in this live project was I built instructions inside the session. This is what happens when you open it. You open it, you double click on it, it opens with these instructions on the side, and you press play and get this. Module 3, building blocks. In this module, I think you did it with the riser. Big Daddy said, I did the 8-bar automation with envelope stuff in the riser. So the session lesson gives you instructions. So what's in this lesson? The original 8-bar loop is at the top. Next are the clip stacks, which are the ingredients we'll use to make our building blocks. Below this are a few pages of instructions to go through some key commands. So the lesson actually has directions built in where you have an 8-bar loop to play with, the clip stacks that we use to make variations, and then the instructions go through it step by step to show you how to do all this. Let's look at page 2. Page 2, capture and insert. So it's all built in. Use a new key command. It's called capture and insert, and you have hands-on activities. Activity, add clips to the baseline. Play practice scene 1. That's the scene right below this one. You'll hear a bass line by itself. Okay. I hear the bass line. Now I'm a student doing the session. While it's playing, go to the drum clips on track 5. Launch clip 1 from the clip stack. Oh, so the session actually gives you instructions just like we're doing in the workshop, but the difference is you have all the tracks, you have all the clips, you have the sounds, it's hands-on and it's happening inside Ableton, and you go through the whole thing. Activity, make another new scene. And this is how to build song sections. I had so much fun doing this because I was recording it and putting little automations together. And I'm the here, thank you, Big Daddy. And each page gives you an activity. Like I was saying, new sound, new scene. You don't want to drop your new clips in the middle of chaos. You want them organized. So you have activities to do hands-on. I explain why it's happening. And this is my favorite part. Most tutorials just say something like, copy these settings and you'll get this sound. That's cool, but it doesn't really help you develop your own original sound. So what I'm doing is telling you the thought process behind it and telling you why we're doing stuff so you understand how to do it by yourself in your own session. Truth Seeker says, this is mad. It's like an audiobook that you interactively select. Yes, it is built-in interactive. The audio clips are there. The instructions are there. The activities are there. And one thing I forgot to write in the directions, you can do this whole process without stopping. So even if I make little mistakes in the directions, I tell you about it. It's kind of fun. You have empty space to build your song sections. And you also get a demo song like this, where I show you the song sections that I built. You know, that kind of stuff. What's at the end? By the end, you should be able to run through your entire song and hear a rough sketch of what's going to happen in the track. Okay. Additional resources. I put a few things in. Okay, and then there is an online component about this. So let me flip over and screen share with the platform. Let me make sure this is coming in. So it's hosted online. This is basically like an online course, but you don't do it online. You do it in session lessons. Do I have to reselect a different screen share? I think I do. Stop that screen share, select the browser. There we go. I know I'm making you wait a couple seconds while I flip between. But I want to show you the Mixitecture members only online site where you can find a ton of free resources, a couple of free session lessons to play with, and also all of the session lessons for Escape the 8-Bar Loop. It looks like it's about to pop up on the screen. Let me check and see if we have any questions. Big Daddy says, this is very impressive. Thank you. I'm glad you guys appreciate it, because I've been sitting down in the Mixitecture studio building all this stuff and thinking about how do I, I wanted to give you all a way to actually learn Ableton by yourself hands-on. And it's hard to do that by a video tutorial because you're watching YouTube and you're seeing it on screen, and then Ableton's in a different window and you have to go back and forth. And the videos, they always kind of go a little too fast. You can't really ask a question except in, waiting for a response. And it's just not the best way to do it. When I was teaching private lessons, I would hang out with DJs at their house and I'm like, no, you touch the mouse pad. I'm not going to show you how to do this. You're going to do it on the mouse and I'll just tell you what key commands to do. And I always helped my private students one-on-one to do it hands-on, so to make sure they could do it by themselves when they're, doing it. So what are we looking at here? This is the Mixitecture members only area. You don't even have to have an account yet. You can go to this little thing that says view teaser content and click on that underneath the login button. And it goes to the, like the public area where we have a free resources section. You can click on this, go in here and get couple of video tutorials, a whole bunch of articles and guides. These are like cheat sheets or a simple, like a 10-step guide to Mixdown or a list of my favorite plugins, things that'll help you learn about the basics of Ableton, and session lessons too, where you can download actual built-in live packs. But to do it, you need a free account. So all I did was from this thing, click on this little red box that says get user account for free. And it takes you to a page to sign up. You'll get an email message with your login information. And that's what you can play with. Let me show you how to escape the 8-Bar Loop. Now, this is a paid course. It's not, it doesn't have free stuff in here, but what we do in the course is we go through the 5 steps of how to build the song like I was doing in the workshop. So module 1, organize your session. That's all about bus groups, channel routing, labeling your tracks so you know that the kick drum is on this one. It doesn't just say Untitled 23 or whatever. That'll get you all the prep ready to like make a session. Module 2 is clip stacks. That's where we take our short little loops, build them into those phrases that have those turnarounds, like the drum beat that went at the end. It went do 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 do, and then it starts over. So if people are jamming with you, they get a signal and they know the song is going to start over. That is in module 2, developing all the ideas and variations to make your clips more interesting, and then they don't just go on forever like boring things. Module 3 is like the heart of it. That's where we do capture and insert, what goes in the different song sections. You got the intro, the build up, the drops, the climax, and the peak, of course. Jonathan says, yeah, I'm sold. You deserve to be compensated for this. Thank you so much for saying that. I'm really glad to hear that you understand, because it was hard for me to communicate what is special about this. So I just decided to go all out and play one for you and show them. Got yourself a new customer here. Wow. Oh, thank you. If you really want to jump in, just scroll down to the bottom. It says get the session lessons in the pink section and learn by doing it. There are 2 options. One of them is to buy the whole 8-Bar Loop course at once. The other option is to do it on monthly payments. Let me just finish the 5 modules and I'll show you that on screen. So module 4, transitions. This is where we do sweeps, crash, risers, glitches, and gaps. And you get some effects racks in here, and I'll tell you about those. Module 5 is effects and controllers. I talk about mapping, pads, knobs, how to go through the song and actually play it and record it into the arrangement so that you can mix it down and get your final song. And the bonus content. Let me go over to this page. Here's where you can buy the course. There are 2 options. One of them is for $197, which is like $100 off the price. Usually it's like $297, but since you're in the workshop, I wanted to make it available to you for only $197. If you get it this weekend, there's a countdown timer, and you learn by building a song. Here's what's included to just run through it again. 5 session lessons. That means 5 different live packs where you open it up, you get the voice instructions, you get the written text, you get the clips, the audio, some automation, practical hands-on stuff. There are a few video tutorials to help you open the project, start it up, make sure it's, you don't get lost with anything. 24/7 access to all the materials, and a whole bunch of freebies like what to put in the drop. Emotional energy in your music. That's a printed guide where I talk about all that stuff with the melody is the peak that throws it over the top in the climax. Principles of composition, where I talk about variation, repetition, not being boring. I think I mentioned that in the gaps, in the transitions, you need a gap where the beat drops out, because psychologically that makes it feel louder when the beat drops back in. That's where I talk about that in Principles of Composition. But the real fun are the effects racks. Bleeps and sweeps risers. Those are like white noise sine wave risers you can use in your transitions. The Hypnotizer effects rack is that one where I was making a little delay on the pluck sound and glitching it out, where I said you can take any sound in your whole session, run it into the effects, and make it part of like your glitch drum breaks or something. And the crash cymbals rack. We were looking at the reverse crash cymbal. I made a whole drum rack of crashes because you always need them. You put them in there. There are some fun modulators on there too with filters and LFOs. And then there's another bonus that's the master channel effects rack. That's basically a couple of like EQ, compressor, limiter you can put on your master channel to make sure it all feels right. There's another bonus included. Oh, I forgot about this. Low end mix help. This one is crazy fun. This is basically a one-on-one session where you do the 8-bar loop lessons, apply it into your own track, and after a couple of weeks when you finish the lessons, you can do them one a day or one a week, depending. It's up to you to do it at your own pace. When you get something done that you want to record or play with or whatever, I'll work with you one-on-one and help you get the low end right. I should be back on screen share now so you can see me. One of the basic problems is just, it's so dumb, but it's kick drum and sub bass. You always have to deal with that. It's always a hassle. It's like, what do I do? Is it the kick drum too loud? Is the sub bass too loud? Well, I designed Low End Mix Help to be a basic mix down lesson where you send me your track and I teach you how to make a live pack and send it. You send me your track, I look at your kick drum and your sub bass and then help you get it mixed right so you can finish your whole session. You can do all the reverbs and the fine tuning of what's the high end stuff. I just help you get the kick and the sub working right. So your track is going to thump, your gain staging is good, the low end is going to be cool on all different sound systems, and you're not going to go crazy trying to mix if you're in a, I don't know, everybody has a different room to work with. If you have a bad acoustic room, it's hard to make a good low end mix. You know, you need bass traps, or you might need a subwoofer, or maybe you just need better headphones. So low end mix help is something I'm throwing in there. Big Daddy says, are these all default Ableton effects? Well, I use everything from the stock plugins like EQ8, Auto Filter, Glue Compressor. So if you have Ableton Live 9, you'll be able to open it. But the thing is, I'm doing plugin chains where I have the macro knobs mapped, the thresholds and the gains and the ratios are all set up as presets. So it's really easy to work with the effect and get a great sound without dropping all the plugins by yourself. I should mention this is for Ableton 9. All the session lessons, I made them in 9.7. So I guess you need 9.7 to open them. I would love to retroactively make sessions for Live 8 and everything else, but that's next coming down the line. For now, you need Live 9.7 to get this. And if you want to do these session lessons, just scroll down on the Live page. There are two buttons. Option 1 is to pay at once. You can get it for only $197, which is like an amazing deal considering that we're going to do the building blocks, transitions, clip stacks, audio editing, MIDI editing, the process. All those things are in these lessons with the automated hands-on examples and practice exercises for you to do, and video tutorials and an online platform where you can download it whenever you want. It's all in there. I think this is like the best way to learn Ableton. I want to personally revolutionize the world of Ableton and stop, like, tutorials are cool and they're great if you're watching somebody who has different VSTs than you, but they're not the best way to do it. You need to learn by doing it and do it hands-on. That's what session lessons are for. And if you don't want to drop a chunk of change all at once, go to option 2. That's where you can pay $51 a month. So you can get started now for $50, pay off the rest every month. You're still getting it for like $100 off the list price if you join during the weekend. So everybody on the list and watching the replay, I'm going to send you a message with these links to all the options, a little reminder, and the replay so you can watch it, study it, learn what I did, do it in your own sessions. I want you to do this, and then I want you to send me a link to your tracks after you start using the 8-bar loop. You could do this even if you have an 8-channel mix. You can take 8 different loops and actually build them out into a song that sounds like music that people want to listen to without banging your head against the table for 20 hours. You don't have to make, somebody put in the comment, oh, version 2, version 3, version 4. Like, I've had songs that went up to like version 18 and they got worse and worse every time when I was starting because I didn't really have my head around how to just organize it. But now that I have this organized system, I want you to use it and grab it and do it. It's really actually pretty logical for how you build it. But the fun part is that it's emotional because you can flow with the way the song moves. So that's what it's all about. And it's on this page and you will get the links in the replay. Big Daddy says, it looks great. Thank you. Lori says, that's what it looks like. I have Suite, about to get Ableton 10. Yeah, I didn't install 10 yet. I downloaded it, but I didn't ramp it up yet. 9 standard or Suite? Lori, I think 9 standard. That's a good question. I made sure I was using, in the course that you download, you get all audio clips for the important stuff. So you don't need to have like the Suite instruments. But I know we did some MIDI editing. You have to have operator. That's a good question. I'm not sure I forget which instruments are in the Suite version or the standard version, but I designed it basically to be accessible for everybody. And if you happen to get the course and you have problems, you can let me know right away. I will definitely help you out and get you up and running. So if anybody has any more questions, it is 1:11. We went a little over an hour, but I want to give you a moment to answer questions. Truth Seeker, Steve, your system is gold. Thank you for saying that. I'm so happy that you understand it and you get it and you enjoy it. It's the best of both worlds. Session View and Arrangement View are your friends. And I just wanted to put together, how I do it and make it available for all you. Version 10 is killer. Yeah. John Vault, here's $200. Take my money. Thank you. I've been dreaming of people like you. I'm looking forward to working with you as soon as you sign up. There is all kinds of, you'll get, all the login info and emails to walk you through every step of the process, from getting in, downloading it, expanding the live packs, starting the sessions. And each one should take you about an hour. I mean, they're like less than an hour of recorded instructions, because I know you don't want to spend 12 hours trying to learn one thing. But if you work on it, if you really did it, working on it every day, you could get through the whole course like in a week on holiday or in a month of normal life doing it at night. And then once you have the system in place, you can go back to all your old projects on your hard drive, sitting there and gathering dust. And once you open them up, you'll be like, oh, all I had to do was like drop some bus groups together, make the clip stacks, put them into building blocks, and bam, my song is done. You are going to be amazed at how fast your production gets when you have this workflow. Lori Johnson says, hands-on always works for me too, builds physical memory. Yeah, totally. I agree with you completely, man. Doing it with your hands on the keys or the controller or whatever, that's how you get it built in. It's not just like, oh, mouse click on a tutorial and like smoke a spliff while I'm watching YouTube at night. You can do that if you want. You'll learn something, but doing it yourself is the best way. So thank you all for watching. Ooh, Michael Callan has a comment. It's as I always say, learn by doing and no BS. Yeah, I think you're the first person who said the learn by doing phrase. So I absolutely credit Michael Callan, my first student, right? Weren't you the number one student 0? And we were talking about learn by doing and how you get it, like when you grab it and play with it and everything. Big Daddy says, thanks for this, Steve. Really impressed. No material available that even starts to compare. Heavyweight Ableton champion of the whole wide Saturday. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. I don't know what else to say. If you have any questions, you can email me, steve@mixitexture.com. And this offer is available for 48 hours from the workshop. So you have the rest of the weekend to look at the links and buy the course as session lessons, either on the monthly payment or for just $197. Oh, Sakis Georgopoulos. I think you're from Greece, definitely. Though I'm not a musician, I thought to drop by. Thanks for coming in. You're welcome to ask me any questions, steve@mixitexture.com. And I'll take care of you. Michael says, haha, yes, we spoke about how much I hated university because I had to sit and listen instead of doing it, right? Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all the comments and questions. I'm going to sign out because we're getting on an hour and 15 minutes. But you know where to find me. You know what to do. Grab a session lesson. Start making tracks. And please post a link in the Facebook group when you make a track. I want to hear it. All right? Thanks. Love you guys all. See you next time. And button. Boop.